All right, everyone. Welcome to Objection Handling 101. Stanley Gould with the Selling Silicon Valley Group, and here with Hans. Hans, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. How's it going?
All right, awesome. So really excited to be covering today's topic, which is objection handling. Right now, we're entering the summer market. It's going to be a market filled with different circumstances, could be. And so what we'll do today is briefly just revisit objection handling and objections in general, what objections mean, and then we'll dive into some of the objections that we're currently seeing in the marketplace today. And that's why I got Hans here. Adrian, shout outs to you, man. Favorite people. Love it, dude. Love it. Appreciate the love. Okay, so we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna share my screen here. So objection handling, and this says for the Silicon Valley realtor, but truthfully, this is for all realtors. Anywhere in the country, this applies to you, because right now the market's very similar in almost every part of the country. And we're seeing buyers become more and more educated by the day and by the week. And because of the higher level of education due to the internet, we're getting higher level questions than we've ever been receiving before. And with higher level questions just comes more objections. And so we need to be able to know how to handle these objections when we're entering any sort of situation. And by the way, this is not just for how do we handle objections on leads. Like that's the easy stuff. What we're talking about is how do we handle objections while we're in the middle of a transaction, or while we're talking to a prospect that's thinking about purchasing a home, or how to handle objections from sellers. Like, these are all very different situations. It's not just about acquiring the client. I think a lot of objection handling is focused on how do we acquire the client. But what happens after that? How do you maintain that rapport and trust that you've built with the client? Because every objection that you get is an opportunity for you to build rapport. Okay, so for anyone watching this video today, my goal for everyone who's watching this today is to take what we've learned, what we've covered, and create some actionable steps. So I'm going to invite everyone on this call that if you are watching this, I'd like for you to call 10 people that have been giving you objections. Maybe they're not ready yet, or they're going to wait it out and see, blah, 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 blah. I want you to call 10 leads who've been giving you objections, set 2 appointments, close an extra deal. My goal for all of you watching this video is for the content that we cover today to enable you, to empower you to go out there and close more deals as a result of the objections that we've covered today. So before we go into the objections and the live objection handling, we just want to know, like, what is an objection? An objection is an opportunity to close. Every time a buyer or a seller or a prospect is giving you an objection, it's an opportunity for you to, as I said before, build rapport and close. And by the way, I think the word close gets a really bad rap. And we think of the 70s and 80s and the Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, like hardcore closer. That's not what we're referring to. What we're referring to is closing is simply giving the client permission to do what they want to do. And maybe what they want to do is not buy or not sell, but it's only in asking questions that we figure out their true motivation and figure out whether or not we're going to be able to help them, or if our services are right for them. If we're not asking them the right questions and not closing them in the proper manner, we're never going to get to the true motivation, and we're never going to be able to truly help them, because we're just dancing around the thing that matters, which is what's their motivation. So how do you close someone? You close them by asking questions. And the more questions you ask, the more control you have over the situation and the more control you have over the relationship that you've built with them. If they're asking you all the questions, number one, you're always on defense. And number two, they're actually driving the ship. They're the ones that are in control. They're controlling you. And this isn't a matter of, who's controlling the client. That's not the intent. The intent is you're the expert. You're the knowledge broker. You are the one who's guiding the client. Building a Story Brand, for anyone who's never read that book, phenomenal book. They talk about the hero and the guide. So in Aladdin, we'll say, Aladdin is the hero. The genie is the guide. So you're the genie in this situation. You're not Aladdin. I think that's where a lot of realtors make a dire mistake is they think they're Aladdin or Princess Jasmine. You're not Aladdin. You're not Jasmine. You're the genie. You're the one who's guiding the client. The story's not about you. It's about them. Got it? Cool. He or she who asks questions controls the conversation. If you notice in Aladdin, we'll just go back to that. Like the genie's the one who's asking all the questions. He's asking Aladdin, well, why are you this or why are you that? Like, I don't remember like exactly how that movie goes, but if you remember who's guiding the conversation, who's leading the conversation, who's asking the right questions, it's always the genie. One thing to keep in mind is that not every question that you receive or not every objection that you get is truly an objection. There's objection versus condition. Hans, what's the difference between an objection and a condition?
An objection is something that, that's something that could be resolved and not necessarily like, a condition. So a condition would be like if their kids were getting out of school in the summer, which is why they can't move until the summertime. So that's a condition. An objection is maybe saying something like, well, I'm just not sure how the market is doing right now. Just something that isn't, really preventing them from making that move that they want to make.
Exactly. Objection versus condition. Objection is something that you, that with proper reasoning and understanding the underlying motivation, we can get them closer to a decision faster. Versus a condition, there is a definite timeline to their situation. Exactly. So wedding, like one time this guy's like, oh, my daughter's wedding is going to be in our backyard. So we can't sell until we've had the wedding. That's a condition. That is not an objection. So you have to understand the difference between the two and be able to analyze it. So if they're saying, hey, I can't move until this date, tell me more about that. Why is that? If they say, oh, it's because of graduation, then that's a condition. But if they're saying, I can't move until this date because that's when, according to my scientific calculations, that's when the market is going to peak and I should be selling on that date, then if you have the proper data and you're educated enough yourself, you may or may not be able to show them empirical evidence that suggests that selling sooner or later, could be either or. And I have many clients that say, I want to sell in July. And until last year, July was one of the worst months to sell. And so I would say, well, listen, like we're in June right now. We're not selling in June. Like we should wait till August or September. And so it's not about pushing up or making them make a decision faster. It's using the information that you have available to you, the data, the trends, whatever, to either validate their objection, meaning validate their thought process, their rationale, or simply readjust it, meaning I want to go sooner or later. You understand? Cool. Last thing that I want to cover here is you're not going to win every battle. So all the objections that we're going to cover today, and so we're not going to cover every objection in the book, but the basic ones, you're not going to win every battle. You can't sell the unsellable. There are some people that you're just not going to be able, to win. That's fine. This should help you close more transactions, but it's not going to help you close everyone. Make sense? Can't sell the unsellable. All right, let's hop into the objections, Hans. All right. All right. Cool. What's a classic? Like, just give me the one that you're hearing the most nowadays.
The most common one is definitely going to be, oh, well, everybody's overpaying 200 to 300K over list price right now. So I don't think I want to get in the market right now, and I want to wait until the market goes down.
Okay. So the first one, I'm posting out here. Objections. So the first one is everyone's paying like 200 to 300K over list price.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the last part of that?
It's like I don't want to. I don't have enough money to pay that, so I want to wait until the market comes down in order to buy.
Okay. So interestingly enough, you just threw a condition into the objection. Okay, but we'll
well, without that, I want to save more money part.
Okay. Sure. So we'll figure out. I'll address how to handle that, because we can. It just requires a little bit more legwork, and it's also useful if they're approved with a lender that you know and trust. Understand? Yeah. So what's another one? Let's do the three most common. We'll go over the three, and then we'll wrap up. So what's another one that you're hearing right now?
Another one that I'm actually still hearing is COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, so like people still want to, they're unsure of like the market, of what's going to happen after COVID, if that makes sense. Not because they're scared of COVID, but like what's the market going to do after COVID? They're unsure, so they want to wait and see.
So they're going to wait because of the uncertainty surrounding the return to normal.
Yes.
Okay. And then what's the last one? It's another one that you're hearing.
So this third one is more for, I guess, sellers.
Good.
So like, I guess a lot of sellers, they're also wondering, because last year was a crazy market, and it was pretty much, if you put the house on, you're guaranteed to make money. But I guess now they're like, well, now that COVID's going down, I guess it's kind of similar to that second one. It's like, will I still be making the same amount as I did before, or should I wait a little longer?
Got it. So just from a seller's perspective, like timing, and
exactly,
they're trying to figure out when's the right time. Should I sell now? Should I sell later? So just general. So, but let's get into like an actual specific objection that you get from sellers, right? So they're saying, I'm not sure about the time. That's not really an objection. That's more of let's talk through this, right? So what's another objection that we can, a similar objection that we can kind of stem from that or draw from that?
Got it. Like just a regular one, or does it, do you want something that's related to the current market, or?
Just a regular one. It's fine. Just a regular one.
Okay. Maybe something especially for me, as a young agent, you don't have how do I know you have an experience to sell my home?
Okay. How do I know, or how do I know if you're experienced enough?
Or a lot of them will ask, how many years have you been selling real estate for?
How many years? Oh, I love that one. Yeah. Feels like forever. You see these grays? How many years have you been selling homes? I like that one. It's relevant, and I think it's relevant for some of the people in our audience too, because it is an objection that you will get. Interestingly enough, and well, we won't go there. We'll cover that once we get there. All right, bud. okay, so everyone's paying 2 to 300K over list price. I don't have enough money. I want to wait until the market comes down. So paying 2 to 300K over list price. So the first thing that I would say, Hans, you're going to be the buyer. Okay.
Yeah.
So just come to me with that first objection. Like everyone's paying 2 to 300K, and we'll talk through it.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Danny, I'm not sure if I want to get into market right now, especially, you know, what I've been hearing is everyone's paying like 2 to 300 over at list price. And I'm just not sure if I want to be doing that.
You know, I totally understand, Hans, and believe me when I say this, I've had many clients feel the same way. I guess my main question to you is, do you not want to pay over list price, or do you not want to pay over market value?
I guess not over market value, and kind of like a combination of that and whenever the market, you know, value does go down a little.
Gotcha. So what we're, just so that I understand this correctly, is you want to buy once the market's softened a little bit.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Now, typically speaking, when the market softens a little bit, it's because of one of two things. Either we start to see inventory levels rise, or buyer demand decrease. Right? Supply demand. So either supply has to go up or demand has to come down. And typically it's a combination of the two. In the next 6 months, when do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I'm not really sure. Maybe after coronavirus is, you know, over, or, you know, after this whole COVID has died down a little, maybe more homes will come to the market.
Okay, got it. So you think that after we return to normalcy, there's going to be an increase in houses?
Possibly.
Okay,
But
like okay, sorry, what was that?
but yeah, I just want to like wait and observe a little longer.
Okay. Now, question for you, percentage wise, how many more houses do you think will be on the market, say, in 6 months from now?
Well, that's a good question. I would say probably like 5 to 10%.
5 to 10% more houses.
I don't know. What
Okay.
do you think?
Well, what I think is irrelevant, Hans, because I don't have a crystal ball. And what I've learned many times before is that whatever we predict is going to happen, expect the opposite. I'm not in the business of making predictions. All I'm in the business of is interpreting data. Okay. And here's what the data shows, is that right now in Santa Clara County, there are less than 50% of the homes. I should say this, for every home that's on the market, there's 2.1 homes pending.
Mm-hmm.
So there are more than double the amount of buyers in the marketplace pending sales than there are active homes on the market. So I can totally appreciate, and I buy your idea that there are going to be 5 to 10% more homes on the market once things return back to normal. I think we can all agree that that's going to happen. But the reality is that that 10% bump is going to mean nothing when it comes to satiating the buyer demand, because right now the buyer demand is more than double. So a 10% increase in inventory levels is going to be a blip on the radar. It'll get absorbed immediately, just like that. And so that being said, I mean, could you see how just a small increase in inventory like that isn't really going to affect pricing?
Yeah, definitely. I can see that more now.
Yeah. So between now and 6 months from now, like in a perfect world, if the market conditions didn't matter or whatever, like when would you like to be in your in the home buy? Like in a perfect world.
the next 60 days.
Okay, so based on what we just discussed right now, do you think the market's going to go down in the next 60 days?
Possibly, but maybe not enough to justify the wait.
Yeah, and I think you know what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, so a couple things on that one, right? If you're watching this right now, agents watching this live or after the fact, I asked him a bunch of leading questions to get him to the result that I knew was correct, which is the market's going nowhere. So, but you have to know, here's how I handle that objection. I handled it with facts and data. If you don't know your facts and data in the marketplace, like that is real data from the trend graphics report that I pulled last week, because every other week, I do a stats update for the county. So because I do that, because I keep myself educated, I can handle the objection better. Otherwise, you're just playing with, like Hans was, which he's playing in the theoretical game. I'm playing in the empirical data game, in the facts. When you handle objection with facts, there's no way you can lose. Make sense? So, and even if he had said, by the way, if Hans had said, I think it's going to go up 50%, and it's like, great, then there's only going to be 2.1 homes pending for every 1.5 homes pending. Or there's only going to be 1.5 homes pending for every home on the market, right? So there's still, the absorption rate is still over 100. And if you're an agent, you should know what absorption rate is, and B, you should know that anything over 33 is a seller's market. And so when you're at over 100% absorption rate, that is absurd. It's ridiculous. It means homes are flying off the shelf. So a 50% increase in inventory will do nothing to the market. That should frighten you if you're a home buyer or seller.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching this video. That should really frighten you, because it's gotten to the point where there's going to have to be some dramatic changes in order for us to experience a downturn or even a neutralization in the marketplace. All right, great. Let's move on to the next one. We have 8 more minutes. So I'm unsure of what's going to happen now that things are going back to normal. Okay, Hans, let's role play that a little bit. Like, just like get me there in a conversation, and let's just you're a buyer, right? You're a buyer client of mine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Danny, yeah, I'm looking for a home right now, and ideally a single family would be nice. But I don't really know what's gonna happen in the next couple of months, with COVID and everything, like everybody's getting vaccinated. I mean, is now gonna be a good time to buy, or?
Got it. So my main question to you, what's your main concern with the fact that everything's going back to normal as it relates to the housing market?
I don't know. I don't know what to expect with the housing market, like, am I going to be overpaying because now more people might be selling their house, or like, I don't really know.
Got it. Okay. So you're asking, are you making a good investment decision by buying the property now?
Correct.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. How long do you plan on holding onto the property for?
Well, I do plan on staying there for a really long time because, this is going to be our first home, and, we are expecting a kid soon. So we do want to stay here for a while.
Right. So if you're buying a home in a good neighborhood with good schools, which it sounds like, obviously, with the kid on the way, with the kid, like we want to make sure that we're focusing on places with good schools.
Mm-hmm.
In the short term, Hans, like I can, and by the way, like timeout, like this is where I would go into the housing market, and I'd go into supply, demand. We talk about that. We do exactly what we just did on the last objection, and we'd cover it here, and then I'd hit them with the final closeout. which is this. So once you've gone through the supply demand objection handler, then you come here. I can't, Hans, like, even with all of that, it's difficult for me to say with 100% certainty what's going to happen in the next 12 months because things are unpredictable in the short term. Statistically speaking, though, if you look back at any 5-year period in our area, housing is always appreciated in a 5-year span. There's never been a 5-year span where you take a 5-year span where we haven't seen appreciation happen in the marketplace. So if you're buying it as a long-term investment and you plan on staying there for more than 5 years, you cannot lose. Let's talk about another thing, which are interest rates. If you're going to be in this house for a long time, you know what you're locking in for a really long time? Some of the lowest interest rates we've ever seen before. Question for you: if the market, question for you is, with interest rates as low as they are, do you see them going up in the next 24 months?
Definitely. I mean, if everything else is going back to normal, I'm assuming that the interest rates are going to go back up to normal as well.
Right. So on $1 million home,
Right.
on $1 million home, do you know what 1 percentage point increase in interest rate does to your purchase power?
No, but what does it do?
It drops it by 10%.
Wow.
Which means that if interest rates climb back up a point, that the market would have to drop over 10% in order for you to recoup that loss in purchase power.
Right.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, possibly.
You think the market's going to drop more than 10%?
Oh, the market. No, I think the interest rate's going to go up. So it will, decrease my purchase power by 10% is what I.
Right. So it sounds like to me that right now is the optimal time for you to buy. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think so too.
Just based on the fact that interest rates are as low as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, Hans, but the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So right now, you know what you can afford, you know what you can get into. And this is a side note, I've seen a lot of buyers in your position before who do press the pause button. The issue is that they're always chasing the market. Do you want to chase the market?
I mean, no, we want to be in a home.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you understand that. I'm glad that you're seeing it the way that I'm seeing it now, because it's important for me to know that my clients understand the rationale, right? Or understand my rationale, right? Okay, cool. So that's how I would close it out. You just want to get them to understand that, like, hey, like, from every angle that you slice it, like, this is a good investment decision. And by the way, there are going to be situations where it's not a good investment decision. If someone comes to you, like, right now, if they're going to buy right now, but their job is uncertain and they might be moving out of the country or like the area in like 12 to 24 months, and they're not going to be able to hold on to the house, you have to warn the client. You have to be like, listen, like, based on what you're telling me, this doesn't sound like a good idea for you. So I've had it both ways. Right. Where the client comes to us, right? I mean, right, Hans? Like, there's been times where you've had to tell your clients, like, this is probably not the best idea.
Oh yeah. Especially, here when everybody like overanalyzes everything. Yeah, and it's hard to tell them because they think, they're the educated one that just knows everything, but sometimes it's not the case, and it's hard for them to hear too. It's like, wow, everything I've been reading is wrong.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sometimes it is, right? Sometimes and it's not what they're reading is wrong. It's how they've interpreted it. Yeah. It can be too. All right, last one, so that we wrap up here. So how do I know if you're experienced enough to sell my home? How many years have you been selling homes? So let's just dive into um, let's dive into it, right? So this is for a home seller, right?
Correct.
So Hans, I just want you to ask me like straight up, like pretend we're like 5 minutes into the listing presentation,
Okay.
and you ask me that.
All right. Hey, Danny, you look really young. How long have you been selling real estate for? And
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, it seems like forever, to be honest. But I guess what's most important to you, the fact that I'm young, or what's most important to you, hiring an agent that's old, or hiring an agent that has a lot of experience?
well, I don't know. Being your age, I don't know if you have enough experience to sell my mansion here.
Got it. So you live. Where's the house located, Hans?
Um, Saratoga.
Okay. So you've been living here in Saratoga, Hans, for the last 12 years, right?
Right.
So you've been seeing the kind of buyers that are buying into this area, correct?
Right.
So in your mind's eye, who is the prototypical buyer for this home? Who do you think is going to buy this house?
Right. So it's probably most likely going to be a family that's transitioning out of their first home,
Hmm.
that's looking for that kind of next level home with good schools,
Hmm.
into a better area.
Right, the dream home.
Yeah.
So typically the age profile, the job profile of those clients, like which employers are they coming from? How old are they? How old are their kids?
Their kids are probably like middle school or early, like right before high school, and
Okay.
these people are probably like working in tech, maybe late 30s, early 40s,
Mhm.
type of people. I think that's
Got it.
probably who's, most likely going to be buying in Saratoga.
Hey, Hans, I have a question for you. Do you know what the average age of the realtor is in Santa Clara County?
But no, what is it? What is it?
65 years old.
Really?
Who do you think is closer in agent psychology to the home buyer that you just described? The average Silicon Valley realtor or me?
Probably you.
We understand how to market to them better, but more importantly, because of that closeness in agent psychology, I know how to sell to them better. Who do you want
Right.
on your side advocating for you?
Well, someone that knows how to sell to them.
So I think you know what the answer is. Let's just do it. It'll be fun. Okay, boom. All right. Yeah. And guys, it's just, it's the age thing was, I mean, I got into real estate when I was 23. I had none of these wrinkles. Like these are all new, like within the last 24 months. Um, but when I started, I was 23 and I had no experience under my belt. But what I realized is that I had something that no one else had: time. So when you're sitting there with the client, you need to, if you're young, right, you have to make that your biggest asset. And I would bring it up at the beginning. So I know that you're looking at me right now and you're thinking, I can't believe that I have a kid who has the audacity to sell $1 million home. And you may look at my age as my biggest weakness, but I look at my age as my biggest strength. I have no obligations right now, no wife, no kids, nothing. My only, my only commitment right now is to you. And I want you to know that I will not sleep until I get you the highest possible price for this home. That's what you want, right? Doesn't need to be difficult. And by the way, again, you can't sell the unsellable. There are going to be people who, in their mind's eye, will only hire a realtor that's that has gray hair, which is ironic because at this point in my career, I've sold more homes than most of those realtors have who have been around for 20, 30 years. But that if gray hair is important to them, then nothing like that, then you can't sell them, right? But if you present it in the right way, you can turn some people around, and I've done it before. Hans, are you gonna use that handler?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And also, by the way, like, just it doesn't even need to be a seller. It could be a buyer too. If a buyer asks you like, "Hey, how many years have you been selling real estate for?" It seems like forever, right? And then you go into it and you say, "What's most important to you? Having an agent who's a little older than me, or having an agent that's going to find you the best house at the best price?" Because while the older agent is tucking their kids into bed and doing dishes and cleaning the house and doing all the things that adults do, I'm going to be out there knocking every single door in the neighborhood that you want to buy in, trying to find you something that's not on the market. Which do you prefer? Crying baby in hand, or me knocking on doors? Simple. There's so many ways to turn it around and make whatever weakness they find in you, whatever chink in your armor they find in you, you can take that, turn it around, and make it your biggest asset. You just know how to do it. So anyways, guys, I hope that helps. We're a little over time here, but I hope you got some value out of today's session. Hans, anything that you want to wrap up with or close out with?
Not really. I mean, just, I think you did a really good job at, just handling these objections and, really letting people know like how to educate their prospects or clients in the best way possible in order to do what's best for them. And, I think if you're a young realtor, like when I started, everybody was like concerned about my age, but it really just comes down to like practicing and knowing what to say, because if you say in a way where people think that you're confident and that you're experienced, then that age thing is just, it's not going to come up. Like, like I'm only 22 and, I, people haven't asked me that for like over, I would say like 1.5 years, 2 years. Like I haven't heard that for a long time. So.
And you want to know why that is? It has nothing to do with your age. It has everything to do with confidence. If you're getting this, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Hans, because that's a great way to close this out. The age objection only comes up when the client sniffs the slightest sign of lack of self-confidence. So in knowing your shit, so this is what experience does for you. Experience creates confidence, but you can accelerate that confidence because you can expedite your experience level if you put in the work and learn your shit, which is exactly what you just said, right, Hans?
Yeah, 100%.
You put in the work, you practiced, and you accelerated your experience level because you are willing to put in that work, and not every agent is. So kudos to you, buddy.
Thank you.
This kid's gonna do over 250 GCI this year. As a 22-year-old. It's good for you, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all I got for everyone today. Leave your comments down below. I'll tackle them next time. And hey, Hans, next time you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna be the buyer and seller.
Make sure, but you're gonna tell me like 24 hours in advance instead of 20 minutes before.
No, dude, because that's how the objections come, man. They come like that. You don't know when they're coming. They just come, and you got to be ready. Just sharpen that tool, baby.
I'm always ready.
I know you are. Catch you guys in the next live stream. Stay
All right.
legendary, everybody.